Welcome back to the Fitness League, helping busy humans build strong bodies, sharper minds, and better lives. Join us each week as we cut through the noise, challenge the norms, and empower you to train smarter and live stronger. Jamie asks, I did my glucose test and failed, potentially have GD. I feel disappointed in myself. I will have to do the longer test now. I am also very shocked as I've always been an active, healthy person. Any tips? I hope the test results were a mistake. We'll be diving into this question and many more in today's Q&A episode. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
Just letting everyone know Joelle's in a feisty mood today.
Joelle is on one today. It's that 90 HRV, baby.
Which we will dive into because that was a question as well.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Great.
They want the update. All right. The gestational diabetes question. I think it's not uncommon to have that, or to, what's the correct terminology? Not that you're failing the first one, but to have the first one be and then have to go for your 3-hour. Like, I know many people who do have to do the 3-hour test and everything does end up being okay. But what's your take, Joelle?
Yeah, so the first thing I want to address is her saying, like, I feel really disappointed in myself. And I feel like, I think she said somewhere, like, I feel like I failed or feel really disappointed. Yeah. Oh, glucose test and failed. Feel really disappointed. So one, this is not necessarily your fault. I think when we hear diabetes and when we hear like, oh, when we have healthy behaviors, like we lower our chances of gestational diabetes, which is true. But when we're talking about gestational diabetes, we're also specifically talking about hormone dysregulation that is happening at the site of the placenta and insulin uptake issues with the placenta. So as you know, there are a lot of different hormone changes happening during pregnancy. And I just want to make it really clear that like the GD is, if it goes that way, which we don't even know if it will go that way. Because I, like Alessandra said, have heard that plenty of times where people fail is it 1 hour and then they take the 3-hour and it's fine. But my guess is you didn't do anything wrong. You can be a healthy, active person and still end up with GD because it is largely driven by those hormonal shifts that are happening in pregnancy and the way that your body can use insulin. So I want to just stick that out there for you first. Like, it's about physiology. It is not a personal failure. But the longer test will give a much clearer picture. So also hold off on spiraling until you have a little bit more information. If it is GD, it's manageable. There is an account. I'll see if I can, when I'm not on the spot trying to find it in this very second, there's a gestational diabetes dietitian that I follow, and I really, really like her content. If you shoot me a DM, I can send you her page because I don't remember.
There's another Lily Nichols RD.
She's great too.
She's awesome. She has a book, A Real Food for Pregnancy,
yep.
and Real Food for Gestational Diabetes. There's a separate one.
Oh, okay.
Regardless of if this ends up being a thing or not, both of her books I highly recommend on the nutrition front. They're just very informative and kind of do a deeper dive into pregnancy nutrition than even deeper than what a lot of doctors recommend. So I would highly recommend her page and her books.
I have the Real Food for Pregnancy. I think I got the ebook version of it, but that's good to know that she also has a GD version.
Yep.
And then I think she asked about iron, tips on increasing iron, also have low iron. So low iron, especially during pregnancy, is super common. A few things to keep in mind there. Getting some of that iron from food, if you are absorbing it, would be great. A lot of iron supplements don't particularly sit well with people. Red meat, dark leafy greens, lentils, beans, even some cereals that are like fortified with iron could be helpful. Another great tidbit to keep in mind is pairing iron-rich foods with vitamin C sources to help with absorption. So I feel like when we think vitamin C, we always think oranges for some reason, but like bell peppers, kiwis are all really, really high, even strawberries, really, really high vitamin C amounts. So pairing vitamin C and iron. And calcium can block iron absorption. So try to avoid a ton of calcium. Like, don't drink, I don't know how many people are necessarily doing this, but maybe don't drink a glass of milk as you take your vitamins.
It's so hot. Milk was a bad choice.
Yeah, so if you have a really iron...
Did you actually get that?
I have no idea.
I don't know what it's from, but I laughed because I know the quote. I know the quote, so I laughed, but I couldn't tell you what it's from. Yeah.
Anchorman.
I probably only know the quote from you. Also, some people might not know this, but cooking in a cast iron skillet can actually increase the iron content of your food. So that's another little
We need
tidbit
to get
there.
one of those again. We don't do well with them though.
They're just such a pain in the ass to clean.
Yeah.
Or technically not clean because you're like kind of not
Right.
Kind of wipe them down.
it. Yeah.
All right, Joelle, we'll keep you on the spot. Tyla says, for Joelle, what are your theories for the higher HRV the last few mornings? By the time you record, maybe you'll have some more data to look at.
Okay. I don't know yet. I have a few working theories. Some of them are not great recommendations. Some of them are potentially helpful recommendations. Some of what is on my radar at this point, until I can at least report back. At one point, I thought it was related to having an earlier dinner on the night, what's today? Tuesday? Sunday night into Monday, I had a high HRV, whatever yesterday's was, like 80 or 85. I had an earlier dinner and I was like, maybe it's the early dinner. So then last night I had a late dinner. Sorry, Josh. And I had my highest HRV yet. So that threw now that theory out the window. Like I ate at 7:30, 7:45 last night instead of 5:30. So now that theory's like I've already debunked that one. And one day, like that's not also fair. So take it all with a grain of salt. I have another theory. I spent a lot of time in the sun yesterday, specifically walking on the beach, and there was some peacefulness and some like just being at the beach, being in nature, getting some sunshine on me. And a long walk. I took a very long walk in that sun. I don't necessarily think it was the steps that did it because I always pretty much get in a ton of steps and that doesn't seem to boost my HRV, but that time specifically in the sun, I think may have helped. And right now, that I think is the most likely contributing factor because the other days that my HRVs were higher were days that I was like out in the sun with the kids playing in the pool. So I'm going to pay closer attention to that this week. Transparently, I had a very bad headache week last week. For those of you that listen, you know I have neck issues and my neck issues cause a lot of headaches for me. And I had like 4 or 5 headaches last week, which unfortunately meant I needed a lot of ibuprofen last week. So my first kind of unfortunate theory was that the anti-inflammatory effects of the ibuprofen were potentially helping my HRV, but they were happening like 2 days after I took the ibuprofen, not the night that I took the ibuprofen. So I was like, oh, maybe it's not the ibuprofen. So all of this to say, I have no clue yet, but I'm still working on it. I have a few theories. Those are some of my theories thus far, but I'm still trying to narrow it down. But nothing has changed about my supplements. Actually, that's not entirely true.
Hey guys, real quick. If you've been listening and thinking, I need to start doing something for my health, but I don't have time for a full program, that is literally why we built the SDE Method app. It's a fitness app made for real people with real lives. Busy parents, working professionals, anyone juggling 100 things. You can get a smart, effective workout in around 30 minutes, some even closer to 20 minutes, and log out knowing you made progress. You can finally take the guessing out of your workouts. We have workouts designed to be done at the gym or at home, and you get access to all of them when you sign up. As life phases change, you can pick a new one that aligns better with what you have going on right now. And one more thing, we are also qualified for HSA FSA reimbursement. So just hit the app link in the show notes, start where you are, we'll help with the rest. All right, let's get back to the show.
I actually stopped taking Lunar because
Why?
I went a full week of terrible sleep, even with Lunar. And then I was like, I'm going to cut this for a week. I don't think it's contributing to my bad sleep, but like if it's not helping, let me cut it and see if I notice a difference. So now I've been off Lunar for a week and I've had really good sleep, but I'm also in the part of my menstrual cycle where I get much better sleep. So like this is why it's so hard to figure out like, oh, what is it? I've gotten so many DMs being like, tell us what it is. And I'm like, I don't know yet. Like, could it be my follicular phase? Could it be because I'm near ovulation? Could it be because I am taking a deload week this week? Could it be because I took 12 pounds of Advil last week? Like there's a lot
Wouldn't
of
it be?
variables.
Because you're getting close to 2.5 years postpartum now. Like
Could
you're
it be
on the
because I'm
up.
just further
This is
postpartum?
just
I'm
the magical period where you start to
right.
come back up.
Like now I hit 6 to 8 months of haven't been breastfeeding anymore. Like could it just be that there are hormonal shifts happening now that I'm no longer breastfeeding and I'm a few months out from that? Like
Wouldn't it be great if there was some kind of platform that took long-term data and answered all these very specific questions for you? Like
God,
actual strong correlations, potentially as strong as causation, Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be so helpful.
Man,
Wish-
if only
wish
someone
we
was
had something
someone
like
was
that.
building that.
Yeah, I mean,
That'd be awesome.
I
All right.
would-
Well, Kelsey asks, do incline walks count as cardio if keeping heart rate in zones 2 and 3? Hell yeah.
yeah, for
I
sure.
think where people go wrong here, or not go wrong, well, yeah, I guess go wrong, is you'll get the influencers out there who will say, like, walks are not cardio. You have to do more than just walk. But for some people, a walk at an incline is enough to get your heart rate up, especially if you are just starting to do more cardio or you're coming off a period where you haven't done as much cardio. So I don't want someone to think like walking is not actual cardio. Like, you're doing intentional movement that is getting your heart rate up, that is just cardio. So don't listen to people who tell you that walking is not enough unless you're somebody who does have that higher threshold and you do need more to get your heart rate up.
Agreed. Madison says, getting low back pain after barbell reverse lunges, and it continues on through most of my lower body day. Any tips?
I'm wondering
See
how much
it.
those, yeah, I would love to see a video. If you're willing to pop one into the chat, we could definitely take a look at it and kind of assess what form is looking like. My first kind of follow-up question would be, when we are getting into that lunge position, are we ending up in like an anterior pelvic tilt instead of kind of like tucking the pelvis, bracing the core, and then going into that lunge? Because depending on basically how anterior or posteriorly tilted your pelvis is, that could be what is causing some back pain. And she said it's affecting like the rest of her leg days too, right? Barbara, continue
Yeah,
through
it
most
sounds
of
like
the
something
rest
gets
of lower body.
aggravated. And then,
Yeah. So, like, if we're also doing squats and we're ending up in that same anterior position, or we're doing deadlifts and we're ending up in that same, like, hyperextended spinal position, that could be what's happening. Maybe we're leaning too far forward or backward. Remember to brace your core, ribs down. Like, you don't want your ribs out and flared. You want your ribs kind of tucked down. Keep your torso upright and centered over your hips as you lunge back. It could also be even like your foot positioning and your stride length. If you're like too short, too narrow, you might have some instability there and then have some overcompensation with the low back. So yeah, that would be my first two starting points.
question, focus on growing my glutes. Do I need to follow a glute specific program?
It doesn't have to be a glute specific program, but you got to hit them glutes.
I think she's either in Muscle Mommy or, well, if she's doing barbell reverse lunges, we had those in build. So I'm assuming
They're
she
also
might be
in,
build.
they might
Doesn't have
be,
them this month.
maybe they're just split squats.
I know she's in one of our
They might not be
programs.
reverse lunges. Maybe, I can't remember.
Well, my point was we both program a great
Yeah.
amount of glute work, so you're gonna
You're
get
hitting the
glute gains
glutes.
from our
Yeah.
programming.
Yeah.
There's also, when we're talking about glute specific programming, people need to understand, like, you can't just go do 40 sets for glutes. So as long as glutes are included in the program that you're doing, there's sufficient volume. Could be anywhere from 4 to 10 sets per week. When you're hitting that at an ideal intensity, we talk about this all the time, but you can be doing all the stuff in the world, all the sets in the world. If you're not going to that 1 to 4 reps short of true failure, then you're not going to stimulate growth. You're not going to stimulate improvements in strength. So that's why we've even gone as far as to say, just if not aiming for failure, aim for 1 rep short of failure, because when we're actually sitting back and being honest with ourselves, that's really closer to 2, 3, 4 reps short of failure. And as soon as you fall out of that range, you're extremely inefficient. So that's the other consideration to think about there is, what does intensity look like? Am I truly pushing it on each of those sets that I have incorporated in each program?
And I'm very, like, my goal right now is to keep the glutes as well, like,
Yeah, it
high
is.
priority for me while breastfeeding. And I will say, like, and I know Joelle does too, like, we both program glute max, glute minimus, glute, like, we get all of the glute muscles in the programming. So it's not just like, we're not just squatting all day and saying, okay, you'll eventually get better glutes. Like, we're giving you the best possible chance at glutes, but like Josh said, you have to be implementing the programming accurately and really pushing it. Like, I am like dead on the floor after the leg days and build from July and for the upcoming August. I am toast after. My glutes were like, they felt separate from my body yesterday. So if you're not feeling, not to say that feeling is the only thing that you should be chasing, but like, if you're pushing it, you will know it. And if you feel like you're just coasting, pick up heavier weight next week.
If you're not laying in a puddle of sweat after every single set on leg day,
We
then
don't have AC. I mean, yeah, we don't have AC. If somebody's working
I
out
would
in Joelle's gym,
literally
everybody's
die.
sweating, but
I wanted to vomit after my leg workout this morning. I like came home and sat on the couch. Brant had to leave for work, and I was like, "Don't go yet. Don't leave me with the babies yet. I feel like I'm gonna die. Like, can you get me the pretzels? I just need some salt or something." And you were in my head because I was like, I think would literally have a heat stroke in your garage.
you adapt.
I'm
this
not
morning was
acclimated.
cold, actually. It was chilly this morning, but yeah, it's been rough out there.
Chelsea says, until our basement gym is back in action, what are some good movements I can do with some dumbbells and bands that will still result in progress? Which program is that?
Build and move. So your keywords, Chelsea, here are still result in progress. It's not just about the exercises that you do. So we're never going to tell you like just do these 5 things and you'll be good to go. Like you need the full program, the full picture to still be progressing, and you can still progress with dumbbells and bands. And many of our build and move app members, that's all they have all the time. So I suggest jumping in and following one of those. There's alternate movements to anything that isn't a dumbbell or band or body weight focused movement, and you can swap that out.
Eva says, working out according to your menstrual cycle phases. Seeing it everywhere right now. Binging your podcast right now, but I haven't heard you chat about it much, except that you generally don't think it's necessary. Would love to hear your perspective on it.
Put me in, coach. I did a whole new segment on this, and I may or may not be collaborating with another company to bring some information about this. I'll have to update you on that later, Alessandra.
Oh, gosh.
So, cycle syncing. That's really what we're talking about here. Definitely all the rage lately. And you're right in that the general consensus from me, from us, I would say is probably not necessary. There is some there let me back up a little. There is some truth to part of this. So a lot of times when people are talking about cycle syncing, they're talking about training harder during the follicular phase or first half of their cycle, and then kind of like slowing down during their luteal phase or during their menstrual phase, with the theory and the idea that, you know, our hormone levels fluctuate across the month, primarily estrogen and progesterone, and that can influence things like our energy levels and our strength and our recovery. So that part is true, but there's some nuance here. Go figure. Yes, hormones do fluctuate, but there really is no strong evidence that women should avoid certain types of exercise during specific phases. So we are very much team auto regulation, which is basically like a fancy way of saying like, listen to your body and adapt to how you're feeling that day or that week. So we should not be avoiding workouts just because like it's our luteal phase, or like the biggest, I think it's such a detriment when we hear people say like, oh, work out really hard in your, you know, do your strength training in your follicular phase. And then in your luteal phase, like you could just back up, or like don't exercise for those 2 weeks.
Or do yoga or Pilates or something.
Like the message to women should not be, hey, don't exercise for 2 weeks. Like women can and do feel great exercising during their period or even their luteal phase. And there really is no solid scientific consensus that says you need to stop training altogether during those times. From a research standpoint, some research does suggest that strength and performance may slightly peak in the follicular phase, so right after your period, but the differences are small and they're so individual. Like for me, like I will PR when I have my period. I feel so strong when I have my period. Other women are like, I don't even want to train. I don't want to go. I feel so weak when I have my period. So that's part of the issue with this research, is like women and women's hormones are so individual and so specific that it's hard to just, like most things in health and fitness, give a blanket rule or statement. So yeah, auto regulation, that's where auto regulation comes in. If you're tired or you're bloated or you're cramping, like you can adjust your workout as needed. You should be doing that whether you have a menstrual cycle or not, whether you're on birth control or not. You need to do some mobility work and today is not the day to go ham. Like great, you have that choice. But I would not recommend saying, I am in this part of my cycle, therefore I should only train this way, because movement is going to be
the results.
Yeah, movement is going to be beneficial throughout your entire cycle.
This from Alexis. I just hit a year postpartum and I haven't weightlifted since probably mid-pregnancy. I had really bad Braxton Hicks every time I worked out. I've been weightlifting since I was 15, competed in bodybuilding and tracked macros forever. I want to get back into that routine, so I've been considering one of your programs from the app. However, I'm very limited on a lot of lower body and back exercises from a back injury I've had since 2016. I have 3 herniated discs in my low back, which really prevents me from loading my back in any type of way or doing hinge movements. I'm wondering if there's a program that could accommodate that, or if I'm just one of those special cases that would benefit from more one-on-one coaching with a trainer. Love the podcast. Helps me get through my contact naps with my baby, and love Josh's outlook on life and parenting. Him and my husband, Josh, would get along so well.
Sounds like a Josh thing.
It does.
My advice here, Alexis, is it sounds like one-on-one training programming might be the better option, not because of where you're at postpartum, but just because of the back injury and having a lot of limitations like that, especially if you're not confident enough to swap out things on your own that may be programmed in the app. So I would definitely recommend reaching out. Coach Tom is awesome. He's an ATC as well, athletic trainer, and he would be able to guide you amazingly for both being postpartum and to accommodate all of those things. The app programs are obviously great. We would not put out anything that wasn't top notch, but they're not custom, right? So if you want that customization, you need that individualization. That's why we offer the one-on-one training programming as well.
Anonymous member 766. My husband and I are moving back to our home state of Louisiana after being gone for 8 years. We're moving in with my in-laws until we build, so potentially a year. We have a 4-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, and I'm wondering how to go about food while we're living there. My husband and I prioritize mostly whole foods, and we do the same for our kids. However, my mother-in-law always has a tray of junk food on her counter as treats for the grandkids and lots of candy in her pantry. My kids know it's there, and I'm curious how to navigate this without her getting super offended. My husband and I have been on a weight loss journey and completely changed our lifestyle, and I'm worried living there is going to derail both of us and teach our kids bad habits. What should I do?
For you, we have experience living with my parents for 9 months. We lived with them. Now, they're still pretty health conscious. They didn't have a tray of junk food on the counter or anything, but my dad's love language is food. So there was often just snacks and things that we probably wouldn't have bought ourselves. Now, with my advice, Josh, you can let me know if you think differently. Since this is your mother-in-law, I would have your husband have this conversation with his parents and just kind of say, hey, we really appreciate you guys taking us in and letting us stay with you. It's really important to us that this kind of food isn't just out for the kids to grab at all times. Like for special occasions when we come to visit, sure. But if we're living with you, we just ask that, it's not out and readily available. And I'm thinking you guys can probably still purchase your own food while you're there. I know it's probably going to be a little more tricky living with other people too, especially if you're all eating meals together, but I would just kind of set that boundary from the start before you move and just do your best to communicate that to them. They're probably going to be more open than you would think, as long as you approach it in a way that doesn't attack them essentially.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I would just say, if it is for whatever reason a weird sticking point, we just have that conversation with our kids as well. Yeah, this is fun. It's good in moderation, but it doesn't serve us the best to have this all the time. It can give us a bellyache and make us really tired and want to go out and have fun and do all these things. Kind of translate it to the 4-year-old and 1.5-year-old language of this is out here, but we're not going to have it all the time. And granted, they're still going to gravitate towards it. So it's just these little cues and reminders each time, which I'm sure can get old, but there's going to be a lot of juggling. There's going to be a lot of stuff that is a bit frustrating during that 9-month period where everyone's crammed in together. But it's just making the best of the situation, and you have options. All right. Miranda says that she heard on a podcast with a functional nutritionist that electrolytes should be drank after a workout, because if you drink them before or during, your body is just sweating out the minerals, which defeats the purpose of drinking them. I know you all drink yours before, so I was curious on your thoughts on this statement. It seems to me like the minerals wouldn't move through our body that quickly. Does anybody else want to go first?
You have at it, Josh.
I just love the titles and then us saying things that are just silly. But we got a nice little title we can slap up there as functional nutritionist. Anywho, electrolytes are fantastic, especially pre-workout. Salt is such a great driver of performance, and let's pretend you sweat everything out during your workout. you can have some more when you're done with your workout. Like it's just a silly blanketed statement that I don't think needs any further elaboration. So I'm not going to keep diving into it. I would just be very mindful of who we take information in from, regardless of what they call themselves.
Yeah, there's also a piece of like your body is sweating out the minerals. That's the point of taking an electrolyte supplement.
That's why we want.
Like we sweat out minerals, and then that's why we do electrolyte replacement to replace the minerals that we're going to sweat out. So like,
So she's
I don't know.
saying
She
like
thought she did
replace them
something
after
there.
and don't do it before was kind of the point of this
Yeah,
conversation.
and for the
I guess.
record, we all drink, like Alessandra's literally sipping on an electrolyte sparkling element right now, as is Josh. I sip on mine throughout the day. Like I do start my morning with it, but I drink them all day, not just pre-workout. So that's the other clarification there. But yeah, Miranda, I think she thought she did something there with that statement. Not you, Miranda, but the nutritionist. Yeah, that's a bunch of baloney.
I will also say, like, when I don't currently train fasted. I get up very early now so I can eat. But when I was, electrolytes were carrying the load. Like all I would have is the non-stim pre from Legion, and I'd drink, a quick glass of Element, and I did not suffer any performance issues from being fasted. So it is not only silly to wait until after your workout, but it's actually extremely beneficial to do so before you
It's
work.
such a better pump if you had some salt too.
Even
Yeah.
runs, I've done a fasted run before with just electrolytes beforehand, and I feel exponentially better than when I've done a fasted run without it before, not purposely, just like for time issues. It's crazy how much of a difference it makes with running too, and that's again not ideal, but it made me feel better.
Amanda says, no question this week. Just want to express how much I love this podcast and appreciate all the content. Love seeing your meals on Instagram. Can we get more of that? I know y'all aren't big on recipes and stick to protein, carbs, color, but seeing how others are throwing those meals together is great inspiration for different combos. Of course,
Noted.
you guys are better with the meal.
What I eat in a day videos recently, they don't perform as well lately, so
if you like them, go engage with them.
I was going to toy with doing some more of that on YouTube just for more nuance, but Instagram's been just Instagram.
Angie says, I had hysterectomy a few months ago and am having so much pain in my lower back after I lift. What do you suggest for core recovery?
Honestly, the postpartum program, we've had a lot of people do it post surgeries lately. Like I've had a bunch of people DM me reaching out asking if they can use that post various types of surgeries. I think there was one hysterectomy too. It's a great program to just reestablish that core strength and kind of rehab your way back to optimal fitness levels. And that's kind of the approach that I take with our postpartum clients, but it applies with any sort of surgery or, maybe you just have taken time off from training. Like it's a great reintroduction to exercise. So I highly recommend it. It's not just going to work for postpartum individuals.
Yeah, I think the other key component there is that it will also somewhat address pelvic floor health. And from what I understand, after a hysterectomy, you can sometimes have some pelvic floor issues, and pelvic floor issues can also cause low back pain. So there's likely some maybe core or pelvic floor dysfunction happening there. So the postpartum forever, even though it might not be postpartum for you, that's probably a really good place to start.
Melissa says, in March, I went through a deficit and lost about 10 pounds. After about 12 weeks, I came back up to maintenance where I have been since. The scale has gone back up about 4 to 5 pounds, but my lifts have gone up as well, feeling much better in the gym and like I have more energy, and I think my body composition is still improving. I am around 2,100 calories, so is it normal to fluctuate plus or minus 5 pounds or so in maintenance? Thanks for all that you do.
Yeah, pretty normal.
I used to tell my female clients like anywhere from 5 to 8 pounds is a maintenance range. Like your maintenance weight on the scale is not always going to be the same number. It's going to be a range, and it can be for some people upwards of 8 pounds, like depending on how their cycles hit them, what your hormones are doing. So like I wouldn't stress about those fluctuations like that, especially because you said your strength is going up, your body composition is improving, like you're having all of these other positive biofeedback factors. So I wouldn't stress it whatsoever.
I would so much rather see someone up 5 pounds, but eating more, feeling better in the gym, having more energy, body composition is still improving, strength is improving. Like that 5 pounds is so much more functional for you than being the 5 pounds leaner, maybe being on 1,500 calories, dreading your workouts, not feeling good in the gym, not getting stronger in the gym. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're in a really, really good maintenance groove, and I would not be stressed about that 5 pounds.
Lauren says, hi, I am 6 weeks postpartum with our third and sadly final baby. For the past 6.5 years, I've either been pregnant or breastfeeding and still plan on breastfeeding this baby as long as he will let me. Thinking about how much my body has been through providing for my babies, I wondered if either Alessandra or Joelle ever did lab testing to look at nutrient status. I didn't know if it was worth it while I'm breastfeeding since I will continue my prenatal, etc. supplements or not.
So I for the last 4 years was pregnant and or breastfeeding. And the best way I could describe it is like the last 2 years since having my youngest, I have just felt depleted, and I got standard blood work and all of my standard blood work looked fine. But as we know, what's in range is not necessarily ideal or optimal. So even though and I had them run like my vitamin B, my D, my iron, just to see if there were any deficiencies there from years of back-to-back pregnancy and breastfeeding, nothing really was flagged in my blood work. I now actually in the last few weeks just reached out to the functional practitioner that I worked with previously when I had some gut and hormone issues, so that she could call in a HTMA for me, which is a hair tissue mineral analysis where you have to literally cut your hair, like a good chunk of your hair at the nape of your neck. So that part sucks. But you send basically in a hair sample, and then they can test the hair for some more specific vitamin and mineral status. So she actually just texted me this week that she got my results in and is going to send something back. So I'll follow up with those results. But yeah, I mean, I think it's worth getting labs. You might not flag anything on your blood work unless you get some more specific labs done.
Listen, if you're tired of the all or nothing cycles, the diet starts Monday, the I know what to do, I'm just not doing it feeling, we should probably talk. Our one-on-one online coaching isn't just about workouts and meal plans. It's about building something that actually fits your life. No cookie cutter templates, no guilt, just real coaching and real results. Plus, we've got a pretty big team, so we can even pair you with an expert who actually understands your lifestyle because they've gone through it too. If that sounds like what you've been missing, check out the link in the show notes to apply for coaching. Then we'll send you the link to book a free, no obligation consult call with our team. There are no hard closes. We won't even take your credit card over the phone. You'll get the details to sign up on your own time. And more good news, we are in fact qualified for HSA FSA reimbursement. One last thing. We even offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. What are you waiting for? Spots are limited, so apply today. All right, let's get back to the show.
I personally haven't. The last time I got labs done was when we were going through all of our infertility stuff, and everything was coming back great for the most
So
part.
great. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. I probably will once I'm done breastfeeding. I'll probably wait. I feel pretty good right now. I don't really have a reason to that I'm concerned with, and I hope to breastfeed Wes the longest this time, so I'm going for the full year. We'll see. But yeah, I would say for me, I'm not concerned, so I'll likely wait, but it can't, like Joel said, it can't hurt if it's something that you just are curious about and want to either even just test now and then test again once you are done. That could be kind of cool to compare things to.
How old's your son? 48 months. 48 months, that's 4 years.
This is where we laugh now at Josh as if we know what movie he's
We
quoting.
have no idea what he's talking about.
Grown-ups are grown-ups too. I think it's grown-ups too.
These days, unless you're quoting Moana or Frozen, I'm not going to know the reference, okay?
True.
We did just quote Encanto. I can't even reference the
Yeah.
the quote.
I've actually never seen all of Encanto.
But you sang right along to it.
So many times.
I know the song because I only know the song because it was a trending audio at one point.
It was. They always have it on, and I always catch like bits and pieces of it, and I still haven't put the full movie together.
It's all right. Kristen says or asks, where can I find more content on Joelle's journey balancing her hormones holistically?
You're going to have to scroll deep for that. Josh and I have touched on it in a few different podcasts. I feel like there was one that we did more of a deep dive in, Josh, that maybe like...
We've done a lot of touch-ups recently, but there was a full episode on my Barrett's and your journey.
Yeah,
If
I
you, I'll try
also
to
have some
find the number.
old podcasts. Kristen, if you shoot me a DM, I can direct you to some specific podcasts. Like I did a whole PCOS podcast with Sam Miller at one point. We talked a lot more specifically about hormones and what I was doing. I've guested on a few podcasts to talk more specifically about that hormone journey.
We
If you
also talked about it with Coach Courtney, didn't
Yep.
we?
Yep. Our episode with Courtney or Ari was fairly like functional and hormone and gut focused. Yeah, I think more Courtney's than Ari's. We dove into that. So if you look at, we could probably find what episode it is, but it was one of our like newer post merge ones. So yeah, the guest episode with Courtney. But yeah, Kristen, if you shoot me a DM, I can help you find some of those. It was a few years ago, so a lot of that content, like Instagram wise, is pretty buried. If you scroll back enough, you'll find some of it. But yeah, happy to answer any questions for you.
TFL episode 24. So this is
That's
post
Courtney's.
merge. It's specifically TFL 24, not the other one, which was January 2025. So there you go. Brittany asks, would y'all ever consider having a monthly journal review? So going through and reviewing, discussing any papers, articles, studies that are published with any claims, fitness or nutrition related. I think this is cool. We kind of
I'm
do
actually
this now. We
super
don't
into
we
that.
don't cite, we don't say this is the study we just broke down, but we kind of pull some of the,
Current
whether it's
research.
controversial or just really interesting, we'll pull the information and do like a deep dive on it. But we can definitely rebrand that a little bit and do a monthly journal type of situation. I like it.
With that said, if there's anything you guys have seen as far as research or, topics you want us to break down, we're always open to that as well outside of the Q&As.
All right. Katrina is going to wrap it up for us today. Hey y'all, I'm due in early August with first baby. Congratulations, that's very exciting. Pertaining to postpartum, how will I know when I'm ready to introduce light to medium weights into my fitness routine again? Is the 6 weeks the magic number of weeks, or is it individual? Will I physically feel it in my core or pelvic floor, body when it is time to add more and more weight? I don't plan to breastfeed. Can you answer this question for both the C-section and vaginal delivery? I feel like I'm pretty in touch with my body, but having no idea what I'm about to walk into is concerning. I'm realistic to the idea that it takes time to get back to some sense of normal in daily life and in my body. There isn't a rush. Just want to know what to possibly expect. Thanks.
Yeah, it's a lot. When
Great
you're going
question.
into it as a first-time mom, it can feel very overwhelming. Here's what I will say. The 6 weeks clearance is just I want it to die in terms of like training aspects. Like obviously there's a reason for it physiologically. But when we're talking about training, a lot of people wait and do nothing for the first 6 weeks postpartum, and then they hit 6 weeks, they get cleared by their doctor, which is often just a little peak down there. Maybe if not, you're filling out a questionnaire saying that you're not depressed, and they send you on your way, which that can be a whole nother podcast episode. But there's no magical thing that happens at 6 weeks. And what I want women to understand is we are not limited, or should we be completely sedentary for 6 weeks early postpartum. There's a lot you can do that can help promote healing, improve your mental health. When we think about exercise, we have to think about it on a spectrum, and we have to think about it from a gradual standpoint postpartum. So we don't want to do nothing for 6 weeks, be cleared, and then hop back into whatever we were doing before. It needs to be a gradual rebuild, which is why I designed the Postpartum Forever program the way that it is designed, because you can start it literally in the hospital. I started it because it's breath work. It's very gentle core work. It's very gentle mobility work that will help your body just feel better in those early postpartum days. So while it is exercise, it is not exercise in the way that a lot of us think about exercise. It's not intense exercise. So it's built to implement progressive overload slowly in those first 6 weeks. Once you hit phase 2 of the program, it's more of what you would think of a traditional fitness program. Still very, very basic with body weight bands, very light weights. The point is to rebuild slowly over time. So there's not going to be a day where you wake up and you're going to be like, I'm ready to lift weights today. Maybe mentally, but you can't just trust what your mind is doing. You have to weigh in with what your body is actually feeling, how your birth went, how your recovery is going, how your entire pregnancy has gone. Did you lift weights throughout your whole pregnancy leading up to birth? Did you not do anything after the first trimester? Like all of these things matter. postpartum is so individual, but my hope is that the guide and the way that we created it allows you to individualize it for yourself.
Can I also just add something about, she was asking like what she anticipates feeling, what will it feel like, what will she physically feel? I can tell you, when I did start to introduce weights postpartum and when I felt that I was ready and I started gradually introducing weights, like day one in the gym, I'm not throwing a barbell on my back and squatting. Like I'm sitting down on machines. I'm being very, very intentional and specific. What I can tell you both times, even as someone who has been lifting a long time, lifted throughout both of our pregnancies, knew how to reintroduce exercise safely and effectively, it felt really weird. I don't know if you had that same experience, Alessandra, or if you felt a difference like returning to exercise post C-section versus your VBACs. Exercise felt really weird for me for a few weeks. And it felt a little discouraging at first, not because like you're weaker than normal, because there's a part of that that's really exciting because you start to progress really quickly and there's this fun rebuild happening. But I remember feeling like my limbs and my core and my pelvic floor were all on a different page. That's like the best way that I could describe it. And being pregnant right now, to Katrina who asked this question, like that's probably so hard to conceptualize because you're like, I have no clue what that could possibly feel like. I didn't either until I experienced it and just felt like things were offline. I just felt like things were offline. My limbs, it felt like things were just disconnected. Like my limbs and my core and my pelvic floor, everything just felt kind of weird for a few weeks. And it eventually goes away and you get stronger and you start doing more of that rehab work for your core and your pelvic floor and your diaphragm and your breathing. And eventually it feels like everything becomes cohesive again. But for me, I had a few weeks both times where I just felt like things just feel a little weird and feel just kind of like disconnected was like the best way that I can describe it. And it does get better with time. And the other thing that I will mention that feels specific to her question was, for me, if I either did too much or I lifted too heavy or I was just on my feet too long, I would feel it in my pelvic floor. I would just feel a heaviness in my pelvic floor where I'd have to say like, I got to go sit. Like I got to take all pressure off my pelvic floor. I don't know if you had any instances like that, Alessandra, where you just either like, you were feeling really good and maybe you did a little extra that like maybe you shouldn't have kind of thing. You just like feel that heaviness. That's not so much pain, just kind of like a heaviness and a discomfort in your pelvic floor. You're like, I need to sit down because it just kind of feels uncomfortable. So that is also what came up for me transparently when I started introducing exercise postpartum. And if I did get to that point, it was like, sit your ass down. You're doing a little too much.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's feedback, right? So as we're navigating postpartum, if you're experiencing, even if it is pain, even if it is that heaviness, just more intense soreness, which is really common as you get back to exercise, like it's feedback for your body. You have to make sure your nutrition is optimal. You're in a phase where sleep probably isn't optimal, so that's not really helping you per se, but you have to do what you can with what you have and listen to your body. So if you hit something a little too much that day, you know where that limit is for the next week or the next day when you go back to it. And I will say, because she asked us to touch on C-section versus vaginal. C-section, I had what you described, Joelle, like that very disconnected feeling, especially with my core. Obviously, they're cutting through layers of tissue, so things are going to be disconnected a little bit more so than if you had a vaginal birth, but it does come back. And I think the biggest thing here is just really focusing on implementing regular pelvic floor work and core work and just not skipping that to hopefully get back to where you were before. You can't skip that stage. Like it's going to happen in the earlier days or it's going to have to happen later, but if you skip it and do too much too soon and don't take that time to rehab, you're going to pay for it in some way later. And that's not to say that you can't progress a little bit faster if you are feeling great, but you have to take it individually and factor in all of the things, not just what your mind wants to do.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap up this conversation with a reminder that change doesn't come in one big moment. It's built in the ways you keep showing up. Take what you learned today and build the best version of yourself for tomorrow. Where can they find you?
At Joelle Samantha.
At Josh Skutnik, including your Project B waitlist.